Hello class, this is going to be a demo for watercolor test strip number 2. So we're going to do wet on wet to color. I realized our demo in class, we didn't get a chance to do color combinations. If you were working asynchronously at home, you probably got a chance to do that in Miss San Miguel's video. So wet on wet, we're going to wet the paper first. It's going to be kind of hard to see my paper wet, but make sure you get it in there. If you're using watercolor paper, it's going to be nice and helpful, but you're going to choose 2 colors. I'm going to go with violet again. I'm going to do the top layer, just like that. And then combine it with a different color. You should see the 2 start to combine. I'm going to grab just a little more blue there while it's still wet. Yeah. It's going to be a nice way to blend those 2 colors. All right. Then you're going to want to do wet on dry, 2 colors. We're not going to wet the paper beforehand. I'm going to go ahead and lay down another purple here. Remember to rinse off your brush after each go around. Grab some more and then a different color. Go to town. All right. This next technique, you're going to need to use some salt. I've got a salt packet from a restaurant. If you've got table salt at home, any size will do. You only need just a pinch. Actually, I'm going to open this up before. I'm not going to use the whole packet. Like I said, we're only going to need just a pinch. I'm going to go ahead and do wet on wet for this one, just a little bit. Grab some paints, whatever one you want to use. And while the paper is still wet, go ahead and start throwing a little bit of salt onto it. And you can start to see it create a texture. Again, you don't need a whole lot, and you're going to have to let it dry. So we're going to give it a little bit, come back to it later. When it's dry a little later, we're going to get a chance to knock off the salt. In this last one, we can try, it's called blotting. I'm going to go ahead and do wet on wet for this one. There's a lot of different ways you can approach blotting. But you're going to want to take your rag. If you're using a paper towel, you can use a paper towel. Using just the edge to create texture, you can blot here and there, getting some potentially cool results. I'm going to do another version of blotting down here because I want to show you how to do it with the edge of your brush. It's really neat. So I'm going to go for wet on wet again. I'm going to choose purple this time. What I'm going to do, rinse off my brush. I'm going to dry my brush real good. I'm going to use the edge of my dry brush to actually pick up. I'm kind of scraping it off just a little bit, little by little. You want to be delicate. And you can actually start to lighten up different areas. You're going to want to work a little fast though, because it's picking up paint. So you're going to have to rinse that stuff off, dry your brush, make sure it's dry, and then you can continue picking it up off the paper. Every now and then, don't forget to rinse it off. That's a way to get much lighter tones. I like using the brush a lot better. You can use rags and whatever you want to get different textures. Some people have used tissue paper, cloth. I've heard different kinds of cloth too. Other kinds of paper. I really like using the edge of the brush because you have a lot of control. Our last one I want to show you, I ran out of room here. You didn't get a chance to do it, and you can hear the salt kind of coming off, but we'll take a look at that in just another minute. It's called wax resist. If you happen to have a crayon at home, maybe you've got a set of crayons, you can try this. I'm going to do just the design. You're going to want to press kind of hard on your watercolor paper. After that, you're going to apply some paint over it. And the wax should resist. And you know what? I'm going to actually add a lot more water to that. I think I'm going to do wet on wet. That's another thing. If you've already got a lot of paint in one place, instead of adding more paint, you can simply add more water to kind of spread it around. And if you notice, it starts to get lighter. As I am spreading it around. And as you paint over the wax resists it. There's a lot of cool potential designs you can use for this. Just a little burst over here while it's still wet. All right, those are our extra techniques you can play with. I think our salt is mostly dry now. I'm going to be delicate and knock some of these off. It's not totally dry yet, but when it's dry, you can hear the salt starting to come off. When it's dry, you can take the salt off. All right, guys, make sure you turn in these new techniques and tips. In today's folder.